Good morning. It's February 26th, and my name is Kaylee Bedingfield, and I'm reporting live from Tarleton State University's public radio station KTRL and Texan News. I'm here with co-president of Sony Pictures Classic, Michael Barker. Mr. Barker is fresh from the 85th Annual Academy Awards, and he has taken a couple of minutes to speak with us. Thank you for coming, Mr. Barker.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
I'm glad you're here. So you just flew in from New York last night, correct?
From Los Angeles.
Oh, Los Angeles. Oh,
Right.
okay. And you just got back from the Oscars. Tell me, how was your evening?
It was really remarkable. It was really great. You know, I've been to many, many Oscars, and it's a party, but when you win, it's a much better party.
Yes.
So we won 2 awards, so it was a big party for us.
And you won 2 awards, one for Best Foreign Film and one for Best Documentary, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
And the 2 films were Amour and
Searching for Sugar Man was the best documentary feature.
That's
Yes.
correct. Now, what was your reaction when you found out that you had won both of those?
Well, we were thrilled about it. You know, these films that we release are independent films, as opposed to the big studio pictures like the James Bond movies or Spider-Man movies. And so when one of these films wins an Academy Award, it gives these films a real profile with the public and really helps the films come to the attention of the public. So it's a real lifeline to these films. So we're very excited. It'll just bring more people to the movies. I'm also excited because Michael Haneke winning an Oscar finally after he's made so many films. It's a very beautiful thing to see something like that happen. And then someone like Malik Benjalloul, who directed Searching for Sugar Man, it's his first film, so it really represents a great beginning to a big career.
Oh, yeah.
So we had both the master with Michael Haneke, who's been around a long time, and the new debut director really making a name for himself. So that's very exciting to have both of that in the same evening.
Right. Okay. I didn't know that that was his very first movie for Searching of Sugar Man.
Yes.
So that is really good to hear. So he has a good start to his career.
Yes.
Now, why is it that you chose independent films when you began Sony Pictures Classic? What is it that, I guess, captivated you?
I think that started when I was growing up in Oak Cliff in Texas, and I was growing up with Mr. Dan Malone, who teaches here at Tarleton, and we went to school together. And I think in Oak Cliff, my friends and I, we wanted to know more about the world, but we didn't really know how to know more about the world, and we weren't exactly great students, and we weren't really great readers. So we would get in the car and go across the Trinity River and go to the movies. And I remember we would go see foreign films like Z and The Conformist, and we would go see really commercial films like Romeo and Juliet and Oliver. But what those films did is they really taught us about the world, or what was going on in the world outside of Oak Cliff, and that was very exciting to us. And it was also at a time in the late 60s and the early 70s when there was a lot of turbulence in the country, and the films seemed to give us a kind of clarity about the world that we didn't get elsewhere. And it was always very, very exciting. And so even at that time, even though I loved all the big commercial films, it was really the smaller films, the more thoughtful films that helped me give me clarity of what the world was like. And so I was interested in those films from the very beginning. And what you have to understand about being in the independent film business as opposed to the mainstream film business, it's 2 different types of businesses. The mainstream film business, it opens in theaters everywhere on the same day with the 30-second TV spot that's on the Super Bowl or on national television, and there you have it. The independent films need to be opened in a smaller way and grow into their own, become part of the culture over time. So the independent films require a kind of patience and growing of a film and really helping a film get bigger over a longer period of time. And so what you're dealing with is it's almost like raising a child, you know. It takes a long time for an independent film to really come to fruition. And when they do come to fruition, whether they win the Oscars or they cross over and become huge financial successes like we had with Midnight in Paris or Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon or Capote, it is so satisfying because you've helped give birth to this film or this adventure, and then years later, those are the films people remember. Those are the films people go back to see on television or DVD. And so that's what's gratifying about the independent film business. And I believe it all started when I was very young.
Right. Now, when these films start, like when they're first in their very preliminary stages, do they start premiering at film festivals, or where do they really start?
Well, it varies with each film. What's interesting about movies is there are those movies that have elements that stand the test of time and can open and be successful at any time. And there are those movies where it's a single moment in time where that film will only work at that time because people's interest in that subject it's in the moment of current events. And go back to your question again, because I was getting to the answer to the question.
Okay. How do they really start? Starting in film festivals?
Well, what happens is each film is so different, and you have to tailor-make a campaign to a specific film. You can't do, with independent films, you can't do the same thing every time out of the box. So if you have an international film, a foreign language film that you feel is of the highest quality, then you want to open your film at the Cannes Film Festival. If you have a film from a new filmmaker and it's an American independent filmmaker, a young filmmaker, then you want to start it and launch it at the Sundance Film Festival. You'll have a film like we have a new Woody Allen film coming out this summer. It doesn't require a festival because everyone knows who Woody Allen is. It's not, sometimes his films are perfect for a film festival. Sometimes in this moment of time, his film does not need a film festival, so we won't go in film festivals with a film. Every film is just, it's very different on how you launch it. A film like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, it was important to be in the Cannes Film Festival. It was important to be in New York, Toronto, and Telluride Film Festival to grow the film's reputation. Now, a lot of people now would say, oh, why was that important? You know, because it's so successful, and you know it now as a very successful film. But at the time, it was a Chinese film, a Chinese art film about women empowerment with martial arts, and at the time that was a very difficult proposition.
Right, okay, I see what you're
saying. And to this day it is the highest grossing subtitled movie ever at $128 million, and I think the closest one to it is about a third of that. Yeah.
That is really neat to hear.
And that's what's also interesting about this business. It's very unpredictable what happens week to week, and it's very important to be flexible and respond to the signs of what's going on with the expansion of your film and getting to a wider audience.
So how exactly do you plan to, like, you are the co-president for Sony Pictures Classics, but what is it that you're doing with these movies exactly?
Well, we become attached to these movies. Sometimes we produce the films and start at the very beginning. Quite often we'll acquire all the rights for North America at the end, after the film is finished. Our purpose is to give the films the marketing profile and have a marketing campaign that captures the audience's attention. And each film has a different target audience. If you go back to a film like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, there are many target audiences. There are martial arts fans, but there are also the art film fans. It has a real feminist point of view, so there's a female audience of all ages. And so what you have to do is target those audiences you think you can get into the theaters at the beginning. And the way to do that is through the traditional ways. You have some TV spots, you'll have newspaper ads, magazines, and radio promotion. But then in addition to that, in the last 10 to 15 years, marketing on the internet has been very, very, very important. And what happens, whether you have a movie like Amour or a movie like Searching for Sugar Man, you're able to reach your audience by putting your trailer on so many sites that are targeted to the audience that would seem to be the most attracted to that film.
Okay. Now, today you're speaking at Tarleton about why the Oscars matter. In a couple of sentences, why do the Oscars matter to you?
I think the Oscars bring attention to films at a time when our attention is diverted not only by films, but by television, by sporting events, by internet, by playing video games. It's very difficult to focus on one media. The Oscars allows us to focus on films and on quality films. And what that does is promote many films. It's really about the promotion of these films. And it causes many of these titles to kind of stand the test of time and be remembered in a major way. And it's really a great way to promote important films.
Right. Now, what if somebody wanted to start really paying attention to independent films and watching them? How would they get into as such? Because it's kind of like a culture. I guess I kind of see it as a culture. So how could somebody just start to really learn what goes on in the business and start watching
Well, I think the first thing, which is so important, and I have been to other universities, and students don't realize the importance of this, which kind of surprises me. The first thing is it's very important to be cinema literate. It's important to see the classics, to see what people think are the great films, and form your own opinion on what works and what doesn't work. It's important to be film literate. And then it is also important to become engaged with the practitioners. I know in a few weeks South by Southwest is starting. That's a great place to go and to engage in people that are involved not only in film but also in a kind of interactive media and what's going on in all of the technology and interactive media in the moment. And I think it's important to find places like South by Southwest where you can become engaged and meet people and understand how it works.
Okay. My last question is, with all the stuff that's been going on this past year, you won 2 awards. What is looking into the future for Sony Pictures Classics?
Well, I think we have really an exciting group of films coming up. Next month, we are opening Robert Redford's new film that he directed and stars in with Shia LaBeouf, as well as so many other actors like Stanley Tucci and Nick Nolte and Julie Christie and Chris Cooper. And it's a thriller, and it's a very exciting movie. And then we have another film next month called At Any Price with Zac Efron and Dennis Quaid. It's another thriller about corruption in farmland America, in the Middle America, and then in May we're opening Richard Linklater's new movie, a hero from Austin. We had his first movie called Slacker, and this movie stars Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. We think that's going to be a big movie. And then we have the new Woody Allen film this summer, and the new Almodovar film this summer. So we have a very great lineup of films.
It sounds like it. Now, where can we see these movies if we want to watch them?
Well, actually, a lot of our movies play at the museum in Fort Worth and do very, very, very well. In fact, almost all our films play there. I think all of them do. Occasionally, like 2 or 3 times a year, when a film really breaks out, like A Midnight in Paris, it'll play in movie theaters, other movie theaters in Fort Worth. Of course, in Dallas, all the movies play in several theaters. And then, several months later, the films are available on VOD and DVD in the usual ways.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's all I have for you, but I really appreciate you coming by. And if anybody wants to, you can tune in at 12:30 for Texan News broadcast. I'm Kaylee Bedingfield, and thank you for watching.
Thank you, Kaylee.
We good?
Very good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
1450. So just about
Great.
perfect.
Great. Thank y'all so very much.